One of my favorite things about making a custom sketchbook like this is that since it's custom, you can actually build it to suit a specific purpose. And that's exactly what I did with this sketchbook. This was for workshop week, and not only did I fill it with different types of papers, because I knew I was going to want to play around with the different classes, but you can also tailor the number of pages in it to suit what you need. So I limited the number of pages in here to make sure that it was something I could actually achieve in the weeks leading up to and then during the week, because I can't handle having another unfinished sketchbook, and I just finished it. And I've had so much fun at workshop week, and I wanted to walk you through all the things that I put in my sketchbook. So I actually started by doing a lettering class because there's a lot of lettering. This is something that's difficult for me, but I wanted to make sure it was in my sketchbook. And this lesson was by Martina Fleur, where you actually kind of worked on a different typeface for your name. It was really fun. Then I did an acrylic hummingbird tutorial by Julie Marriott, and I didn't actually have all the colors she used, but I went with kind of my closest matches. So my colors are a bit different than hers, but it was a really fun little painting to do. And then it was time for collage, which I've been obsessed with collage. And this was our little warm-up exercise to just kind of get out of our heads and think really quick and make a really simple person. I had so much fun with this. And then we did a bit of a longer one, and in the similar theme of not having exactly all the supplies, I didn't have any colored paper, so I did have to use my painted papers, but I love how it turned out with them. And then of course I had to jump on Andrea's Kids Live, and one of the activities they did was to do a collage of flowers using whatever magazine that you had on hand. So this was my little one because I wanted to play along. And then something a little more back to my comfort zone, some watercolors, and this was a wonderful lesson by Aurelia Thompson. And then I took a really fun class on abstract scrape painting by Laura Fernandez. This one, it was a ton of fun. It was so fun I even did a second one, but I did it on this black paper because I wanted to see how my paint would show up on there. Lettering is not my forte, but I did want to make sure to challenge myself and do a few of them in this sketchbook. So I did this lesson by Haley Francis, and this was really fun to do. And then next I actually tried to follow along with an Anne Roos tutorial, and it was all about alcohol inks. However, I don't have alcohol inks, so mine didn't turn out quite as expected. I did try to use some alcohol markers. That also didn't work very well, but I had a ton of fun experimenting, and I think I might need to get some alcohol inks. And then I wanted to put this in here. This was my contour or my continuous line drawing of Polina from our kickoff party, and while it looks nothing like her, it is kind of fun, so I wanted it to be here. And of course I had to do Andrea's lesson, and this was so fun. It was a street art style picture where you printed out your dog and then you just added all these really fun embellishments. Again, I didn't have all the supplies. She used tissue paper. I just kind of makeshifted it and did what was kind of in the spirit of her lesson. And then I did Tim's little scrape creatures. These were really fun to make, and I feel like you could make a whole little story with them. And then this wasn't so much an art project, but this was a hack by Joanne. She actually showed how you can wet around areas in magazines and books to tear them out easier, and I thought this was genius. So I wanted to put this in here as a little reminder in case I ever want to use it again. Jillian K did a really cool mail art tutorial, and I wanted it to be in here, so rather than taking an envelope, I just drew an envelope and then I followed her instructions, and I thought this turned out really cute. And then I did Shada Campbell's Easy Watercolor Portraits, and Mr. Unicorn seemed like the obvious choice for this one. Another one where I really challenged myself, this one was by Mabs, and oh my goodness, her tips on drawing flowers were excellent. These turned out way better than I thought they were going to. This fun and funky cat was super fun to do. This was by Terry Runyon, and I had a ton of fun with this one. And then I saved two for last that were the more precise ones that I really wanted to try these, but I'm not a particularly precise person, so I did leave them to the last. And this one was by Farah, and we did these mandalas, and at first I didn't actually have a compass. I was able to go get one, so I was able to actually make these. And there was something about this process that was very methodical and very nice. And then the one I saved for last was the one that I was probably most excited about, but also the one that I goofed up the most. And this was by Samira, where she showed these geometric patterns and how to actually measure them out and create them. I created this using her lesson, and then I definitely got lost on the outside part. I am definitely going to have to try this one again when I have a little more brain power. I probably should have done this at the beginning when I had more brain power. And that's everything I put in my sketchbook at workshop week. This is by far my most eclectic sketchbook to date.